We have a special guest today. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is JC Phelps, but a lot of people know me as my online alias, JCP Eats. I own a local marketing company and I am a full-time food, travel, lifestyle, and plus-size blogger over on jcpeats.com or at JCP Eats.
And obviously, I'm just here with Blowfish Clothing, at Blowfish Clothing. And then, of course, you can find us on Facebook at Blowfish Clothing as well. That's BLOFISH. And then, so the reason that we wanted to bring JC on here is because he actually is collabing with us on our on one of our newer shirts that we've done, our All Bodies Are Good Bodies shirt, and something that he discusses in his blog, and then of course also on his Instagram, is just talking about food. So let's go ahead and kind of start there, and just kind of start and talk about the reason that your blog came about, just some information about you, and just kind of how JC's blog got to where it is today.
Sure. So my blog started out of eating disorder recovery, and a lot of people that have joined me in the recent years do not realize this. So my entire life, my weight, my body, these have always been very hard intersections for me, and my weight goes up, it goes down, and it's just a cycle. And I really struggled with that. And so I developed an eating disorder and lost almost 200 pounds. Yeah, and I really struggled with it. It was, I had body dysmorphia. What I was seeing in the mirror was not what was actually there. I sort of developed that when I plateaued in my weight loss.
Okay.
And so I tried to lose weight and I stopped. So that's why I took more extreme measures. And after some serious issues with that, I had to basically come to the table and say, how can I manage this? How can I get over this? Mm-hmm. And the solution was to use photography, which has always been a large part of my life. And, I've always enjoyed photographing music and my travel, but I'd never really taken a photo of the food on my plate. And so quite literally taking photos of the food changed the way that I saw food. It wasn't an enemy. It wasn't something that I feared would put weight on me. It was culture. It was preparation. It was friendship. It was family. It was community. It was art in a form. And so that's really how JCP Eats started. And so it started as an Instagram community that I had on private. Just sort of my closest friends were on there to hold me accountable. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, I might as well make it public. It's just photos of food. Yeah. And so it grew organically. And the Instagram page is about 2 years old. My website's about 1 year old. And I do it full time now.
That's fantastic. And all of that started just from having this eating disorder. So going kind of talking just a little bit about that eating disorder, was it just just so that people can kind of understand it, if it's not something that you want to discuss, because it is so personal, but what was it, something where it was anorexia or bulimia? Was it binge? Was it just a lot of anxiety over food that caused this? Just kind of go into a little bit more of that.
Sure. I think the real answer is all of the above, which is one of the most difficult things that I've had to approach. And it's hard enough to go through one eating disorder, but over the course of the years, I've had them all. I dealt with anorexia first in the weight loss scheme, and then it moved into bulimia. But prior to that and after that, almost my entire life, I've struggled with binge eating. And so a lot of people don't even hardly frame that in the eating disorder framework, but it is an eating disorder.
It absolutely is.
And that is from childhood on. So it's really plagued me my entire life.
And I think what people don't understand with specifically with eating disorders, and I'm not saying that this is that any kind of what's the word I'm searching for? Like if you're have an addiction, I'm not saying that any is worse than the other, but one thing that's different about having an addiction in any variety to food, whether it be like that binging kind of feeling that you get when that comes over you, or you know, just, you know, with bulimia or any kind of struggle with food, the problem is that you need food for survival. So it's this double-edged sword that you're having to deal with. And so there's just so much anxiety that's just around the entire, you know, the entire idea of food. You know, talking about, you know, how you started to see food as this, you know, it's art, it's beautiful, and almost like you had to see it in picture form to be able to see its beauty, almost like it wasn't, almost like you needed it tied up in a bow at first to be able to say, okay, this is actually, this isn't a bad thing. And I just love hearing that, because it's just, there's so many, like, it sounds like now your relationship with food, I mean, of course, we all overeat sometimes, and so I wouldn't put that, of course, in the same category as binge eating. I think a lot of people are just unaware of really what that is, and are very familiar with anorexia or bulimia. But just for anybody that isn't aware, with binge eating, it's this basically like you black out and you're just like, you're going, you can't stop eating. And it might be a third, and that's something actually that I've also struggled with in the past, coming out of competitions, because I do bodybuilding as well.
Okay.
So that was an issue that I struggled with coming out of that, was with binge eating. And it really is very different than just overeating. I mean, it's eating to the point where it's like, you're laying on the floor and you're like, what did I do? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's really painful. It's not fun. It leaves a lot of guilty feelings and a lot of guilt associated with food in general.
Absolutely. And at the onset, it almost seems like that is the one solution to the issue.
Exactly.
There's no other mind process. There's no other rationality. It is, to deal with X, I need Y, and Y is food. Exactly.
And it's just, it's unfortunate, and it's something that's so hard to kind of break through. And so I think, so for people that are watching this, that are struggling with an eating disorder, you know, what were some of the mindset shifts? I mean, obviously you had to have so many, because you obviously shifted everything into viewing food as beauty and as, you know, something that was to be had with friends and culture and everything. So tell me a little bit about some of the shifts that you took personally in your, you know, with your thought process.
The biggest shift for me was to change how I intrinsically valued myself. And
I love that. I love that so much.
It was, my worth is not the number on the scale. The worth is not how much food I have on my plate. The worth is not my stretch marks or my stomach or my shoulders, which has actually been one of the biggest insecurities my entire life.
Really?
Because I'm so broad. It's not my hips. It's not all of this. My value comes from being an individual and what I have to offer. It's from being an intellectual, an entrepreneur. It's from being a friend, a family member, you know, a cheerleader. All of these things, these are what measures my worth. And once I saw that, the thing that made me feel unvaluable was food. I then could take that mindset and put it at the dinner table, at the breakfast table, in the restaurant, in those low moments, because I still have them.
Absolutely.
I don't think you ever fully get over it. But I just had to realize that I was worth it. And through Instagram and through the body positive community, which is what I love about the All Bodies Are Good Bodies, it took away all the insecurities that I had, and really was instrumental in learning that it doesn't matter what size shirt I have on. If I feel good about myself, that's all that matters. And by seeing these very courageous, very, very inspiring people online, it inspired me to put myself out there too. And so growing up, I never felt like I saw someone in media that looked like me. I was always the largest kid in my class. And by that, we're not talking by a small scale, we're talking on the large scale.
Well, because you're also very tall.
Right, yeah, I'm 6'4", and
Yeah.
you know, I have not grown since the end of primary school.
Oh my goodness. So
Right.
you've been 6'4" for a very
I've been
long
6'4"
time.
since I was 12. And
Holy moly.
my weight, there's not as much variation in age as one would think.
Okay.
I gained weight very fast. I was large from a very early age. And so drawing it in, the body image from my youth to how we see media now, social media wasn't a thing when I was growing up. MySpace was there at some point, and Evo and Pixo and all of these things that no longer exist. But media was, looking at a magazine or your commercials or, what have you. And I always saw people that did not look like me, and that drove me nuts.
Yeah.
And that's the power of social media. And that's why I think it's important to embrace messages like all bodies are good bodies. Because had I seen someone that looked like me, or even some of the people on Instagram that I admire, I think it would have been life altering.
I completely agree. And I think we have to be really careful, because I think a lot of people look to Instagram for perfection, and they look to it as like, oh, I want to be like this person and emulate this person. But just like, if you are looking for hashtags and you're having, a time where you're struggling, or if you're a little bit younger and you're looking for people that are like you, they're, look up hashtags like all bodies are good bodies, or what are some hashtags that you always think are really great, supportive hashtags, as opposed to kind of something that's going to get you down.
Sure. The most basic level one, it would be hashtag body positive.
Yes.
That is in there. But I do find that sometimes it is not the most representative because it is infiltrated at times by, people that are not viewed in society as plus size, or, they're not stigmatized, they're not disenfranchised. So that one is sort of pick and choose. The ones that I enjoy most are like fat positive.
Okay.
My friend Melissa, who used to be an Instagrammer and wrote an amazing thesis on fat positivity and fat liberation. Her Instagram handle was yours truly, Melly. And she started a movement called Don't Hate the Shake. And I think that is legendary. And it is literally people dancing of all sizes.
I love
and
that.
Owning their body.
Yes.
And she started it from the ground up, and there are just thousands of people that have used it now. And maybe they're size 12, maybe they're size 28, maybe they're a size large, and maybe they're like me and they're a 4 or 5X. And it's not about, oh, my body is moving, it's celebrating the movements of your body. And I think that video is so raw and so authentic, and photos are so staged. So I really reap a lot from video content. On the flip side, I also love YouTube.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of great plus size YouTubers that I very much admire, and I love watching the hauls. I love watching plus size body experiences because it's raw and it's real people that you can relate to, not an Instagram model or not someone on print, because those are two very different things.
Exactly. And there's so much space for people to not be their truest version of themselves, especially on social media. So that's a great point, and it'll help just be comfortable in your own skin, because that's what's so important. And to remember that, it's really ultimately, it's not about what's on the outside. As you were explaining your mindset shift, it's not about, everything that you said that became important to you, that's not exterior. That was, you being there for your family, for your friends, the type of person you are, your intelligence. I mean, things like that is just, that's where, that's where we all need to focus. And so all bodies are good bodies, all bodies are great bodies, because it gives us a vessel for our brains, for our minds, for us to be with family and with friends, and be everything that we want to be.
Exactly.
And it's just,
and that's a powerful notion.
Yes.
And I think it is so iconic on a local level, and also a larger level, that Blowfish is approaching this.
Yes.
And using their platform and using the size inclusivity. And that is something that we don't have in Kentucky. It's very marginalizing here. So as someone that shops in that sector, I think that is something of note. And I love that you all can make whatever size.
Exactly.
You can customize, and that's something to celebrate.
and it's something that, it's something we have to really make sure that we're, we could, because we do offer everything from infant size clothing up to extended sizing, and on our website I know that we go up to, I think, maybe 5 or 6 fish, which like 5 or 6 more like a double XL, but we do offer extended sizing. You just have to let us know what size you're looking for, and we will find it. And it may not be a day or two turnaround. It may be, a couple days longer, but it's something where we want to be all for all, and what that truly means is making sure that we're including extended sizes and really all sizes in there. And I think I didn't realize personally, talking to you, you were talking about just some of the places that say, that they have, extended sizes, and then they really don't, or, and so it's interesting because it's something I'm just not experienced with, and it's we all kind of have to learn, and so it's like I'm learning so much from you just about all of this, and I'm so glad that we can be here at Blowfish and be such a good, I hope such a good model for what other companies should be doing and how they should be treating humans and just everyone.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit more about what you do, and then where we can find you, so that everybody on this beautiful camera can know.
So my 2 main platforms are my blog and my Instagram. My blog is jcpeats.com, and my Instagram is at JCP Eats. So the vast majority of my work was rooted initially in restaurant marketing. So I'll tell you where to eat around town. I'll tell you the best things to order, all things of that nature. But it's really transitioned into culinary tourism. So I'm traveling the state and making guides through all 120 counties.
Oh my gosh.
Telling you, what to do, where to go, where to eat, and then expanding out of this market into other markets too. And I do a few other things with products, whether it be recipe formation or, what have you. We do a lot of fun stuff. So I have the best time. I love JCP Eats. I always say the account, I approached it out of eating disorder recovery. It is a large part of me. It's not just an extension of myself, it is me. And I owe a lot to it. So I would appreciate if you all would check me out. And likewise, if you're one of my followers, please check out Blowfish. They're a great company, and I'm proud to be partnering with them.